what's the crack? It's the usual Scarnier and
The other usual
the
bald
other
nub,
usual,
6+ Stevo.
the
How
other
we doing,
bald
guys?
knob.
Look what I'm doing, buddy.
Painting.
I
What's the word
am.
bleeding come to? I'm not exactly renowned for it myself, to be honest with you. If we're
No,
calling
but
people out.
this is why you keep me around, to make you look good.
Well,
Uh,
you know what I mean? It's easy for me to
anyone
pull
out there
off.
got a slightly shit painted army? You know, keep me around. It's always going to get better than a grey army.
True. I know painting needs, which is weird.
Space bugs.
Facebooks. I do
Well,
like them though. I've always had a sort of a soft spot for them.
yeah, nids are cool. I used to have a nid army back in the day, back in the days of fifth.
Before the purge.
Before I purged all my kits and stuff and models. But yeah, I had a fairly sizable nid force, and yeah, I enjoyed them. They were good.
I don't know what it is. It's like I tend to lean towards horde armies. Maybe it's because they're more realistic, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as in that is, you know, rather than a you know, picking all the shinies and fancy stuff, you like armies with hordes of, you know, infantry, or in that case bugs, and to sort of represent the sea of.
Yeah, like kind of sort of conventional army style. I don't know, maybe it's from like growing up watching war films and stuff where you used to seeing like
Yeah,
units and tanks and stuff.
mate, I just love that you called the Tyranid horde of intergalactic locusts a conventional army.
Well, they're more conventional
That's...
than a Knight army, you know? Elite armies never work in actual warfare.
No, they
Quantity
work
is a
to a
quality
degree.
all of
They're
its
very,
own. That's the problem,
yeah.
and
Oh
that doesn't
yeah. I
translate
mean,
over to 40k. I think that's a major issue with the game. Is that hordes?
no. Although elite armies, you know, they do have their place, even, you know, in real life and stuff as well. They have a very specialized, focused
Oh
goal.
yeah,
But
like
yeah,
there's SEAL teams and stuff like
you
that,
know,
but they're not going to be left on
yeah.
garrison duty on the planet once it's taken over. You know?
No, they're certainly not going to win wars on their own. They're very specialized in, you know, for key engagements and things. But yeah. But then I guess, you know, the armies that we create for 40k are essentially, you know, quite often if you're playing a battle of 40k, you can almost imagine that the battle you're playing out on the table is just one sort of snapshot
Yeah, it's
of
one
a
action
much
and
larger planetary battle going on, can't you? It's...
campaign maybe. I think that's why campaign play is probably the ultimate goal at the end of it. Because you could have a bit of everything then. You could have like specialist kill teams going in and doing stuff.
Yeah.
You could also have your major battles. Your bug standard troops doing garrison duties.
I mean, I'm much like you though. I've always preferred horde armies and infantry stuff. No matter what army all the armies I've had actually have all been fairly heavy in like choosing from the troops section of the codex. My Necron army, I had quite a lot of warriors. My Chaos army had lots of cultists, and well, my Chaos army was from the Lost and the Damned codex, so I had lots of mutants and things. Then my Nids, I had lots of Hormagaunts, Gene Stealers. I don't need to tell anyone watching this how much I like Grots. So yeah, I do like. Yeah, I think the when you make an army like that as well, it makes your special units, your elite units, and your heavy units and stuff seem that much more special. And they kind of, you know, you've got this sea of infantry and, you know, regular troops with dotted in amongst it or at the rear of it, and that specialized units and key units within that army. I think it only enhances just how special they are. My good buddy Reroll Joe, who'll probably be watching this podcast, he's the exact opposite. He loves named characters, special characters, highly elite, expensive units. The stuff from the troop section just bores him to tears.
Hmm.
He has no interest in it at all. But I find that when I play against some of his armies, I've certainly played against a couple where it's been a lot of characters and things. And it kind of lessens the impact of each character when you're fighting that many, on the table. But he likes it, and that's, it's his different way of building armies and stuff. And that's kind of what's good about the game, I suppose, that you get those different types of armies and stuff, and they make quite a good army, actually. In fairness, his style of army makes the ideal opponent for a horde orc army, because it creates quite a heroic scene on the battlefield. Outnumbered by loads, and the superior kind of elite units holding off against hordes after hordes of boys, and heroes slaying them by the bucket load and stuff. So I suppose it does kind of work in a cinematic feel on the table.
Oh, it's very Hollywood hero hammer mode.
Yeah. And I've always generally, in the game and stuff as well, not just realism, as in would this happen in a real war? I kind of like that, how would, I like that cinematic sort of feel to stuff, and that, I like, I've always liked battles where the two leaders of each battle go head to head. I like putting my war boss against a Space Marine captain, in the closing moments of the battle and stuff. They always make for great moments.
Oh, yeah. There's part of me when I'm watching the Star Wars film and I'm like, Jesus, the Empire pilots are shite. The troopers can't shoot for shit. Do you know what I mean? There's like the plot armor. The heroes always win. I get kind of bored of that.
Yeah, stormtroopers not known for their accuracy, are they? I wonder what their accuracy is actually like in the Star Wars game. What's the game that's all the rage at the moment, that's everyone's playing, or a lot of people are playing? The tabletop game that's competition to 40k, the Star Wars one.
It's not Armada. What's it called? I know the one you're talking about, but you've sprung it at me now. My brain's just like, nah, can't think.
Same, mate. As you can hear, guys, we're both a bit probably not our usual energetic selves. But I've been at work all day. Skarna, I believe, has been off gallivanting all day,
baking cakes, the sights and cooking food.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
But it's a nice way to unwind and chill, do some painting, and we thought we'd do an episode of Two Bald Knobs, and this is going to be our first one of many in which we're not actually particularly coming at you with a topic. We're just going to do some hobby and chat, and we'll just see what happens. We haven't planned it at all. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We'll just talk about what we're doing, I guess, at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's not. We kill two birds with one stone. We get hobby done, and we get to do our chat. But this is what it's like normally. So this is just me and you having a conversation as we would do, but we've just turned the camera on at the same time and started recording.
Indeed. Well, I am working on my grot crew. So I've got my mech guns fully painted and finished. I'm not going to show them on camera because I want to hold off until these are completely done with the crew and everything, and then I'm going to be doing a video to showcase them. But I'm pretty damn pleased, actually. My mech guns are looking very good for as far as I'm concerned with my sort of skills and standards. If I can get the rest of my army looking like these, then I'm going to be very happy indeed. I've kept my grots separate for ease of painting, because what I'm actually doing with my mech guns, which is a little different to what most people do, is I'm basing them on these. I don't know how well that pick up on camera. I haven't got a tape measure nearby. I can't tell you what size bases these are, but they're pretty large. I think they're the sort of size bases that I think these are approximately the size bases that the new buggies come on, or very similar. They're oval bases.
Hold on, let's see.
Well, there you go. Just as a size comparison, here's a Killer Can base, or a Dreadnought base, and there's the one next to it. So fairly sizable. But the reason I'm going to be putting them on these bases, I'll get one of them up here to show you. I don't know how well it will show on camera. Let's get the light around here. So as you can see, it fits snug with a bit of room. But the reason I'm doing that is because the way the Grot crew and the Met guns work now, they effectively just act as one unit. The Grot crew is ignored. It's all part in the stats, and they've simplified the rules for it greatly. And I just don't really like the way that the Met guns are sitting not on a base, and then they're surrounded by some Grot crew on bases that have to be there, but are pretty much ignored for all intents and purposes. So I thought, what's going to make it look much more aesthetically pleasing is to kind of make a mini diorama. So I'll obviously have some Grot crew on the gun itself, operating the gun, but then I'll have the loaders and the ones fixing the spotters and stuff on the base around the Met gun, and create a sort of a little mini diorama for each of the 4 Met guns. And yeah, I think it's going to look really good, and I'm quite excited to get it done and get it all based and get it finished, and I think it will look quite cool. I think competitively wise, if you're being ultra bloody beardy about it, it will probably hinder me in somewhat because it makes the Met gun kind of a bigger target. But I'm going for the rule of cool. If it looks good, that's far more important to me.
Yeah, that's always a good idea. Rule of cool. Yeah, it look tidy, man. I know what you mean, though. They keep changing. It's like Games Workshop have never really had an idea of what to do with artillery, because sometimes they've counted them as like vehicles, sometimes they've counted the crew and the piece separately, sometimes they've counted them together. So you're probably better off leaving options.
I think the way they've done it now is they've finally sort of cracked it. Just class it as a vehicle. They've grouped in the wounds of the 5 grots with the Met guns. The Met guns have 6 wounds now. It just simplified it, and it stops those sneaky Orc players abusing it by using the Grot crew to run off and grab objectives and run between 2 guns and operate both, and do all the other shenanigans they used to get up to, which was never their intended purpose. They're obviously clearly never intended to be used in that way. And yeah, I just think it makes sense. Just class it as a vehicle like all the others, and it works. It works really well. I'm sure some people lament the loss of the separate Grot crew and the advantages they could do with those.
No, I've seen it done before. Like, it's nice and tidy way to sort out your gun crews.
I mean, originally I was going to do them. I was going to mount them on sort of dreadnought-sized bases, which some of the ones they're a bit bigger. Their sort of footprint. I'm looking at the standard one from the kit now next to my killer can. And that would hang over the base quite badly. So those sort of bases weren't quite big enough. These bases I've got, I put a Met gun out, I put the crew around it, and I sort of measured around and sort of get the measurements. And then I looked on the GW website at all the different size bases they do, and I just found those ones, and they just fit just right, basically. Nice. And so it'll fit on there nice and tidy, and it'll. Because nearly every Orc army I see that uses Met guns, you nearly always see the Met guns completely on their own. Even at the tournament I was just at, every Orc player there who was using Met guns, myself included, because they weren't finished yet, were just using the Met guns without any Grot crew at all. They just weren't on the table at all. And I understand why, because they don't really add anything to it. But from a visual standpoint, it's a bit of a shame, because these are fantastic little models, full of character.
Yeah, they're definitely good crackers.
Such a shame not to use them.
Well, yeah, it gives you opportunities to make little dioramas as well, so you could have like grots kicking the snot out of each other, and guys filling sandbags, and somebody pushing buttons they shouldn't be, and having a dump in a Space Marines helmet or whatever, Little things like that.
I like that last one. With the head still inside.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can do that as well. They did
a dishonourable end for one of the Emperor's finest.
Primaris helmet being crapped in.
Yeah, by green skin dung. It brings me back to remembering a scene from, I don't know if you've seen it, the old Army of Darkness movie with Ash and the Evil Dead, where he's buried the evil version of himself, and he's yelling up all his stuff, and he says, "Hey, you've got something on your face there," and just dumps a big lump of soil onto his face.
I haven't seen that film in ages, man.
Oh, classic. I've just finished watching actually the Ash versus the Evil Dead series. Highly
Series?
recommended. Yes, three series of the series. 3 seasons of the series. Just finished watching season 3, which I think is the final one. And if you're a fan of the Evil Dead films, the trilogy, check it out. It's brilliant. It's hilarious. It's gory. It's violent. It's everything that made the Evil Dead films great. And Ash is just astounding in it. Yeah, highly recommended. Cool. You can tell we haven't planned this out. Chatting about movies now.
Yeah, it's weird. Next year, wanting to talk about Netflix or whatever.
Well, it was on Netflix actually. The first season is. Now you mention it. The other 2 seasons aren't on Netflix yet. I have a friend who puts them onto a hard drive for me.
Shh, we don't know about such things.
No. Yeah, it's all completely above board, I'm sure.
um, Gaming was like I haven't really got an opportunity to play. Like you played in a tournament recently, but I haven't had
Yes.
the I've not had an opportunity to really play much 40k. I have, however, been playing BattleTech, which is weird. In that I'm not playing
The
40k.
game is weird, or that it's weird that you're
The
playing
game
it?
it's weird that I'm not playing much 40k and that I've been playing BattleTech. Um, it's just odd. It's another war game, but it's just odd because it's like you have 4 miniatures and you can play with 4 miniatures against your mates' 4 miniatures, and you could be fighting. You could play that game for like 4 or 5 hours. It's like cool. It's really detailed. I'll see if I have the boxes here. And you don't put them together either. Hold on. Where did I put that bleeding box? Oh, there it is.
Oh, they're just one model, just
Yeah, they're
straight away.
I think they're like pre-assembled or something like that.
Or it's just sort of one mold, is it? Just one.
No, I don't think they're just one mold. I'll get all this crap out of the way. I think they're just pre-assembled for some of the newer. The game's been around for years, but they're doing what they call like resculpts and stuff like that. So, oh, if you can see that, probably not, but it's on the. Try and show you. Oh Jesus, the lighting's terrible.
Show the viewers. Show the viewers. Don't
show the
worry about
viewers.
me.
They come like this, which is you can tell where there's parts that have been glued together, but that's what you get straight out of the box. This is out of their starter set. Starter box, and you get like 8 miniatures in it. I've been mucking around with BattleTech.
Do the miniatures? Do the miniatures look better than they have done previously? Do they?
Oh yeah, these are like. I tried to get into BattleTech about 10 years ago. I think it was when 6th edition first came out. Roughly nearly 10 years ago. I wasn't playing much 40k. I wasn't happy with the edition. I'm not that happy with this current edition, to be honest with you. And maybe that's why I'm starting to not put my eggs all into the one basket. Not that I'm giving up on 40k, but I just want to broaden my horizons. But the problem I found previously was that a lot of the plastic sculpts they had in the starter box set were naff. And then any of the sculpts you wanted after that were metal ones that were, now being metal isn't the problem, but they were sculpts and some of them were like since the 80s. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like getting into Games
Yeah.
Workshop and they're still using some of the old sculpts. And well, they're characterful. It's like, technology has moved on in the past 20 something years.
I've never played the game. I don't know a whole lot about it other than it's sort of a sort of micro scale mech game.
Yeah.
And I've seen people playing it on YouTube and things. I've seen other people talking about it and reviewing it, and the concept of it seems good and fun. But for me, the thing that's just killed it dead for me was just I'm yet to see miniatures for it that for me look good. They look incredibly dated and of just poor quality. To me, they almost look just like sort of almost cheap sort of Hong Kong manufactured toys. And that for me just killed it dead for me, because I think for me the thing that, and for probably most of us, the thing that draws us into these games in the first place, probably the first thing that drew any of us into the hobby at all, was seeing a miniature or some miniatures that you just thought, wow, they look cool, they look amazing, and
Well, that's what draws you in. Yeah, it's the visuals first of all.
definitely. And I think that's what that's what entices us all in it, is those new shinies and the miniatures and stuff. And I think Games Workshop still, there's some, the competition's certainly picking up out there. I mean, years ago, you looked at any of the competition years ago, and there was nothing that could come close to GW. But these days, there's all sorts of third-party companies making stuff that arguably better, or certainly the equal. Other companies making their own games and things. What have you got? You've got Kings of War, Malifaux. You've got all sorts of companies there. The Star Wars game we were talking about earlier, that are making equally as good miniatures and stuff now. But yeah, so I haven't seen the new BattleTech, the latest incarnation of it, but from what you're telling me, it sounds like they've improved and updated the miniatures somewhat.
Oh, they're whole new resculpts that they're doing for stuff, and they're doing a Kickstarter currently for a new box set and a whole new wave of miniatures for clan invasions. So it's like in their storyline. In their storyline, there's a timeline you can play the game, so it's a little bit like historicals in a way as well, because different technology comes into the game at different timelines. So I can say, oh, we'll play an early series game where you don't have super advanced targeting computers and stuff, or you can play like later years where some guys
see what they've done there. I think are they trying to entice historical players into their game as well? By the sound,
I don't know. I think it's just the fact that the game's like 35 years old at this stage. You know what I mean? It's older than 40k, but I think it's more popular in the US, or it's not as well distributed in Europe. I think that's why we don't see much of it here, but I'm interested to see what way it goes. But like I said, I'm not giving up on my orcs. I've way too many of them. Just painting Tyranids.
Yeah, you'd have near on 1,000 subscribers. Quite upset, I imagine, if you just stopped doing orcs.
No, you can never stop doing orcs. You know what I mean? There'll always be the orky bits in you. Might go over to different. I'm sure you'll go to the likes of Gaslands and want to paint them orky, or do the odd battle mech up in checkered colours and painting their boots red so they go faster. Things like that.
You'll have to get some epics. Use some of your epic scale stompers and things, and see if you can get rules for them in BattleTech.
I'm sure people would find that entertaining.
Homebrew orc rules for BattleTech.
Steam powered mechs. Steam powered gargants, like in Epic back in the day. Did you ever play Battlefleet Gothic?
Not Battlefleet Gothic. No, I did back in the day have my first box game of GW was Space Crusade. My first box game in the sort of proper wargaming aspect of it was Space Marine, as it was called then, which was Epic 40,000. And I had the set of that, which came with the big Warlord Titan, and it came with a Space Marine army and an Orc army. And I had some epic scale stompers and bone breakers, and but I think, how old would I have been at the time? Probably with 13 at the time. Me and a friend tried playing it. We didn't really grasp the rules properly, and we ended up playing a sort of a far simplified version of it, I'm sure. But yeah, very quickly moved on to 40k, and then got the second edition set, and then didn't look back since then, really.
Second edition box set. Even I have some of the Orcs and the Gretchen from that set. The thing I can't get over with that second edition box set, because I didn't really get into 40k until they were bringing out the third edition set. The thing I still can't get over is that cardboard dreadnought. That thing
Yep.
is hilarious. It's
Even
like,
as a kid, I thought that thing was shit. I thought, why did they even bother?
oh man,
There was an edition of Fantasy that did the same thing as well, in which I'm sure it had a wood elf army one side, and I'm sure there was a cardboard cutout of a tree man.
I remember I think it was 4th or 5th edition Fantasy. I remember there were cardboard cutouts of a tree man and a giant for like their templates for when they fell over.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember
Um,
about the Wood Elves being in a starter set though. I could be wrong.
yeah, I mean, I may be wrong there. It may be remembering it slightly wrong. It could have been something else, maybe a forest dragon or something. 'Cause I remember a starter set with high elves that was around for a long time. Um, I know there was a starter set of fantasy that came with high elves.
High Elves and Night Goblins, wasn't it? I think that was
I,
4th. You're wrong. I think 4th was High Elves and Goblins, and I think 5th edition was the Bretonnian and the Lizardmen starter set. We could have the editions
yeah,
wrong, but that's the box I started with.
yes, I remember that set. I'm pretty sure I had that set, or at least I split it with a friend. And God, they were two boring starter armies. Sorry, guys, if anyone out there is fans of Bretonians, but God,
How
they
dare
were
you, sir?
dull. They were
Dare you?
dull, so dull. And the Lizardmen, they had some cool stuff in the army, but what you got in the starter set was really quite boring.
Very
Um,
static. Yeah, I remember the Lizardmen. It was
yeah,
literally like stick on an arm, stick on a shield, and that's it. That was all you
yeah.
really
I mean,
got to do with them.
people say what they say about the hobby these days, but you can't deny that the quality of the miniatures and things has come on a long way.
True. Even looking at these nids I'm painting, these are from the 4th edition starter box set. And they're alright, like, for what they are. Very static
Yes, that
and
was the.
monopose, but
I remember that set. That was the set just before they did the Black Reach set, wasn't it?
yeah, so this would have been the
Oh, Battle for McCrag.
yes.
That's it.
Came with a kick-ass Crash Aquila that I have in me terrain box. That's just not the hand.
Yes.
I think that was the best bit of that whole starter box was the fact that you got like a crash ship.
That's right, and you got snap fit gaunts, didn't you? And some
That's what these
Gene
guys are.
Stealers
Yeah,
and
they're not
stuff.
too
And
bad for
yeah.
snap fit
No,
stuff.
they're great. They're great. They're like they're the equivalent of the, and then they did the very same thing with the orcs in the next edition. They with Black Reach.
Black Reach, yeah.
Made them snap fit, but they tied in perfectly with the existing range. And once they're all painted up and stuff, they look exactly the same. You just lose the posability and stuff. But that works very well in a starter kit. That's where mono build stuff has a place, I would say.
Starter sets, yeah,
mono
definitely,
build
especially
kits.
for people like who don't have glue or whatever.
Yeah, they just want to get the box, build the stuff, and get playing, don't they? And that's how you're going to really draw someone in. If you put too many hurdles in front of someone before they can get playing, then you're going to lose them. And so, yeah, they in the starter sets, I've got no issue with snap fit.
But I guess it just depends. Some people like they think it's a cardinal sin to play with unpainted miniatures. I'm not that way myself, as you can tell. I'd never play wargaming at all.
Ditto.
But yeah, there are some wargamers who won't play with unpainted miniatures. I could understand that aspect as well. But I think you're right about the starter sets. Just trying to click them together and get going. And from what I remember, most of the boys I had from the Assault on Blackreach set, they were great for if you cut the arms off of them, because one of the arms came already glued on. But if you cut the arms off of them and you had spare Luda bits, you could make Ludas out of them because they were just standard boys anyway. You know what I mean? They were just resculpts of the boys.
I've done lots of similar things with the Black Reach set. The Black Reach knobs, I've cut the arm off. That's they've just like the boys. They've got one arm molded on, and then you peg the other arm on. But I've cut that arm off and You know,
Stuck
use them
something
to
else
make
on. Yeah.
yeah, to mix them with my other knob parts, or to make them into big mechs and stuff. They, and you know, the scale wise, they're exactly the same as the knobs from the NOBZ set, and you can do a lot with those. You really can.
Yeah,
I've used them
perfectly
for all
serves.
sorts of bits.
Dude here. I keep showing off this one. He's an assault on black, dude. Just put a second axe on his hand instead of his shooter. But yeah, they're grand, like for what they were. 3-part minis, arm, head, and body and other arm are all one bit. It's like pff, couldn't go wrong.
Oh no, yeah, they're fantastic, and again, once they're painted up, they look just as good as the other ones. You know, you haven't lost anything in terms of detail and stuff. Um,
And there's nothing wrong with doing an old arm swap or cutting at a wrist and changing the angle if you want to mix it up a bit.
yeah,
It's very
well, that's it. That's kind of what I did. I got a lot more knobs out of, because I had the one knob set, and then well, I got a couple of knob sets from Start Collecting sets and things, and then I had a couple of Black Reach knob sets as well, and yeah, mixing and matching the heads and the arms and stuff, and using the kits and kit bashing them, you can get some good combinations and variety going there. And the trouble is, the Black Reach ones obviously all just come armed with a slugger chopper, and quite often, if you're running knobs, you want them with some of the more
I used to love
exotic
that.
weaponry.
I used to just love rolling them like bare bones, super cheap.
Yeah, it keeps the cost down.
Even last edition, you know, there were occasions where I run 10 knobs in a truck, just slug a chopper, and they're throwing out like 5 strength, 5 attacks a piece on the charge. So you're looking at like 50 attacks at strength 5. It was.
Oh yeah, they're pretty tasty. I used them quite a lot in because I had when I was starting my Orc army again, and I just sort of, you know, had the Black Reach stuff to bulk out the force, and then I had a sort of Start Collecting set and things. I ended up sort of having 4 or 5 of the boys kitted out with sort of big choppers, and the other half of the squad kitted out as they were with just slugger chopper, and have them to sort of take off as the first casualties. And it helped keep the cost down and stuff. But yeah, knob armed with slugger chopper is still a pretty tasty prospect for the sheer amount of attacks, and still strength 5, still no slouch.
It all depends. Like if you're doing, obviously, if you're going to be putting them in slugger chopper boys, like do you put it with power claws? Because I know you run shooter boy mobs. So do I.
It depends. It depends. I tend to. In the list I had for the tournament recently, it was 1,000-point armies, so you know, cost was an issue. I ended up in my shooter boy mob of 11. I had the knob in there, just had a big chopper to keep the cost down, but still give him a little bit of a. Big choppers are good, man. What are they, 2 points now or something ludicrous? No, a bit more than that. They're more points than that. How many points is a big chopper now?
Don't know off the top of my head. I'm
Neither
ashamed
do
to
I.
say.
My codex, likewise. I know they've come down, but they're the cheaper option anyway. You save a bit of points compared to a power claw, and you got the advantage of not losing that having that negative to your weapon skill.
Hit. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of big choppers actually. But yeah, power claws are good, but I do tend to find that my power claw hits, if I don't have them buffed by a wire banner or something nearby, they tend to miss most of the time. Hitting on a 4+ is problematic.
Well, yeah, I suppose it all depends. If you manage to get enough buffs in, you could be laughing.
Well, for example, my big mech with power claw, if he gets into a fight, he never hits. He always misses, guaranteed. Every time you think, oh, he's a big mech, he's got a power claw, I didn't really want him in combat, but you know, if he gets in combat, he's got a nasty surprise for him. But he'll swing and just fail with all his attacks every bloody time. So that's just me.
My big mechs, I think it might just be they're underperforming for you. My big mechs have shaved wounds off of knights with their power claws, and they've taken down demon princes and stuff like that. You know, it's all. Just depends. I don't depend on them to do anything, but you know, I've been pleasantly surprised in the past. I'm
They
back
do
in.
good stuff with their guns, you know.
True.
The ones I've got, custom mega blasters and the blunderbuss and the you know, the fancy weapons I give them. They kick some ass with the firepower, but just seems to be an unlucky unit in combat for me. There's certain units that just seem to do well for me. Big shooters for me, always people always talk about big shooters like not being worth it and stuff, but I get good results from my big shooters, and I find them very tactically useful in my shooter boy squads. But I know a lot of people, when I see people discussing it and asking questions in the online groups and stuff, people, you know, pro players and stuff, and well, whether they're pro players, just players advising other players, no, don't bother with them, they're a waste of points. Use the points to get more boys, which is solid advice, to be fair, but I like the big shooters. I get good results from them.
Same here. If I'm doing a large shooter boy as a mob boy, I like running 3 big shooters if I have the points spare. Obviously, I'll start shaving things down if it starts getting a bit tight, but yeah, like a mob of 30 shooter boys with 3 big shooters, it gives you that extended range with the 36 inches. You know, don't expect anything amazing off of them, but 9 dice out of
No,
36, strength 5. You know, it can help. You're trying to shave wounds off or something, and
yeah, I think it's the range that I like the most. I mean, that strength 5 is nice because a lot of things, you know, if you're shooter boys, you're generally going to be shooting into infantry, and wounding on a 3+ rather than a 4+, you know, is very nice. But it's that range, it's that nice 36-inch range is lovely.
be nice if you could take units of big shooters.
Mm.
That'd be something
Oh
interesting.
yes, that would be. I think that would be a nice little rule for bad moons. That would be.
But units of shooter boys.
Yeah, or like maybe some sort of special rule where they could have, you know, double the amount of big shooters or something. Yeah, that would be quite cool. I think, just for the shits and giggles and the fun. And the miniature's great with the big shooter. I love the. I've got the. I think it's the one from the looter kit that comes with the grot on the back,
Backpack. Yeah,
pulling out all the ammo and stuff.
yeah.
That's just beautiful. And I love the way the orc's holding the big shooter and he's got his hand with the ammunition feed coming through. And it's just a really good looking miniature when you pose them right and stuff, and pick the right orc head to go with that. It looks very cool. And it's that miniature built that way just screams Dakar. You can see he's having a whale of a time letting rip with that thing.
Regardless of what's going on the battlefield, he's shooting something.
That's it. Yeah, there's not much more orky than that, I don't think.
All the deck in the world. What about Stompers? Do you think you'd bother with one eventually?
Possibly in the future. I have no intention of getting one anytime soon, and not because they're crap. Because, although I know lots of people, I still maintain that I'm not a big fan of the miniature. There's elements of it I like. There's bits of it I like, but just generally, I don't like the gun. I think when I look at the Stomper, it looks like a lot of scratch-built ones that people have made. In fact, a lot of the ones people have scratch-built, I think, look a lot better. There's something about the gun, to me, it just looks like a load of plastic rods and stuff. It doesn't, something about it just doesn't look right to me. And it's just, yeah, for me, I'm not a fan of the miniature. I never have been, really.
Well, you know, the main gun off of the Stomper is an upscaled Imperial Guard autocannon. Like, they got the AutoCAD files and they upscaled it and just stuck a lot of crap on it. The base of it.
And I don't like it. I don't know. It just doesn't. There's something about it.
Something about it just doesn't wash with you, is it?
No, and I don't like the way it almost looks like a skirt.
Oh, the whole armoured skirt sort of pop. Yeah, there's quite a few people who don't like that look. It doesn't bother me.
I would prefer it if they made it more like, I loved when I had Epic back in the day, the favourite models in my Epic Orc army were the Stompers, and I remember even on those tiny little scale ones, at the back of the Stompers, you see a little back door, where you see the little back door where they enter and go up the ladders and stuff. And yeah, they were cool. I'd have liked it if it looked more closely resembling one of those.
with the little
They
roofs
were
and stuff.
cool. Mm. And I loved the sort of square gargants, the mega gargants.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh,
proper.
Stunning.
That thing was like a walking city block.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I'd love to one day. I really hope I'll never be able to afford it ever. But I'd love to see Forge World make that 40k scale like they've done with a lot of the Imperial Titans and things. I'd just love to see that modernized and brought up to scale, and that would be very impressive to see.
The Mega Gargant.
Oh hell yeah!
I'm pretty sure that would be bigger than a Warlord. Like,
it would be bigger in girth, that's for sure. I don't know if it'd be bigger in height.
no, it wasn't bigger than the Walking Cathedral in height, but I'm pretty sure
that was the tallest one, wasn't it? But
I'm pretty sure it'd be bigger than a Warlord. But it was definitely like girthier. Like, holy shit.
God, you know what? People, I don't know, because I know YouTube records a lot of the words and things you say in videos and things, and people looking for the search terms on this: knobs, girth,
knobs and girthy gargants. We've been flagged for something, all right, mate. I'm not too sure what, but something.
Well, I don't know if we're getting flagged, but someone who's looking for some specialist porn is going to be deeply disappointed when they stumble across this video.
the two of us painting miniatures. It's like, what the hell's this crap? Bless him. What was I going to say?
They'd have to be pretty fucking desperate to get their rocks off this video, I'll tell you.
Hey, different strokes for different folks. I'm sure there's someone out there.
Hey, we've all been there, somebody. Mate. Desperate times, you know.
I was going to say something, but you've knocked it out of my head now, you bollocks. With smut. Utter smut.
Hey, we know our audience.
Yeah. What was I going to say?
Right.
Yeah, it was true. I was asking you about Battlefleet Gothic, but they're bringing out Aeronautica Imperialis. They're re-releasing that. I think they might eventually re-release Battlefleet Gothic.
Now, that is a game I probably would like to get into. I never did play Battlefleet Gothic, but I always really liked the idea of it. I thought at the time, I was a big Necron player, and I really liked the look of the Necron craft in it, which then later inspired a lot their flyers in the 40k game.
Oh, the flying croissant.
Yeah, that was heavily inspired from the things, but I really like those croissants, man. I think they look awesome. They remind me a little bit of like the craft on the old movie Stargate. That's it. Yeah.
Kind of the flying pyramids and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, kill cruisers and stuff. Very cool. And I'd love to. I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I've always liked the idea of running a campaign that links games of Battlefleet Gothic.
I'm sure, me and you have definitely discussed this because that was the sole reason we ended up buying a fleet. It's like I think campaigns are where most games shine at that stage. You're doing your fleet engagements, getting your battles on. For a second there, I was like, I hope he's shaking his fucking thing there.
I tell you, mate, like I said, desperate times. I had someone from my live vid the other day. Someone made a meme of me.
I'm gonna have to use my strong arm for this one.
Yeah, that's it. And then responded with lots of other little memes and comments underneath, which I
thought that was
like, yes, yeah, I can. It's all right. I can get more rhythm with my right. See, if I do it with my left, it feels like someone else is shaking it. There we go. Anyway, God. Who said Orc players are juvenile?
You have to be able to laugh at yourself. Can't take yourself too seriously. You really can't.
Right,
well I'm sure some people do, but Okay.
Yeah, they're probably pansy players.
Oh,
But I
fisticuffs.
yeah, well, fisticuffs of a pansy player ain't got much to worry about, have you? They're not called pansies for no reason, you know.
True, true.
They might be nimble and fucking ducking and weaving all over the place, but you only got to hit the fuckers once.
Well, that's it with Eldar. They've always had that sort of theme with them where it's the
Yeah,
glass hammers more so than us, I think. They're shifty
yeah,
buggers, but when you do get your chopper against his throat,
yeah,
they'll
just
crumble.
that's it. Slam a big chopper into their fucking neck. That'll soon fucking slow them down. So I've just finished. I'd sprayed these grot crew, but in looking at them before we started doing the video, I was like, oh, I can still see a lot of the grey, and I've only partially covered them. So I've just been up till this point going over them again with some watered down black, and now I'm just about to start applying the green skin and I'm using for the first time ever my paint handle that the missus got me months and months ago, because she said, I think this might entice you to get painting a bit more.
Oh,
And
alright.
like everyone else, when these things were first unveiled and shown, I was like, what the fuck is that? The
Yeah,
butt
same
plug, as
here,
a lot
man.
of people call it, and stuff. And thought it was, but I've got to say, great piece of kit. I
I have,
don't
yeah.
understand though why people buy like 9 of them. That seems a bit excessive for me. People, please have more sense than money. Stop just throwing your money into the wind. You don't
Well,
need
let's
9
be
or
honest.
10
If
of
people had
them.
more sense than money, Games Workshop wouldn't be a business now. Come on.
True, true. Yeah, all right, fair play. But you do only need one, because guess what? You paint the one model, then you take it off and you put another on. You don't need to line them up. Come on now. All that money you could have spent on miniatures. But having said that, I do really like it. I love it. And
I'll
these
agree
grot
with you
crew,
there. Yeah.
obviously, these grot crew aren't on bases. So what I've had to do is I've blue tacked them onto little 25 mil. What is it? 25 mil, 28 mil,
25.
25 mil. I've blue tacked them onto the bases that they would have been on, just so I can hold them in the thing. So I'm having to be quite gentle with the paint so I don't knock them off their blue tack.
But yeah, I was the same when I saw these painting handles, and I'm like, ah, yeah, here we go. What are they? £5 a pop for a painting handle? Like, you don't need that. You can just use blue tack, and I'm like, it is actually pretty handy, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, it's designed really well, and it's a great piece of simple design.
I think you're right there as well. I don't see the point in needing like 9 or 10 of them, but I can understand people, you know, if they're painting
I
9.
can't. I don't understand it at all.
I suppose if someone's
I
painting
think
like a squad of 9 of them and they just want to move from one guy to the next, but it's just as easy opening it up. I do what you say. It's like I've one of them. I could buy more, but I'm just like paint, move on to the
I
next guy.
think you're giving him too much credit. I think I think just fucking wake up. Like, money has some value. Just fucking, oh yeah, look, give me 20. Oh, fucking wait, calm your ass down. Christ, you just need one. Chill out, will you? Money's not going to burn a hole in your pocket. Bloody hell, people, get some self control.
No, 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 none of that. None of
But
that.
like you say, those people do fund the hobby and get Games Workshop to keep churning this stuff out. So I guess we all win.
This is it, though. You know, if we only ever painted miniatures and then went out and bought more miniatures when all of our miniatures were painted, you know, that would be ideal. But we all know that doesn't happen. There's always
Very
a
true, very true. Actually, I mean, I kind of felt a little bit when they released the alt buggies that initially I was very excited for, and then saw they were mono build and decided not to buy any of them and bought other stuff instead. And then I see lots of other people buying tons of the stuff, just snapping it up by the bucket load. And I thought, guys, stop, because you're voting with your wallets here. GW are going to see the sales figures of these and think, God, people love these mono build vehicles and all things. Let's make more. Next time we do an Orc release, we'll do exactly the same again. And so I was thinking that, but then also, I guess the other side of that is if people didn't buy them all, GW would have looked at that and they wouldn't have said, oh, perhaps we screwed up the releases. They would have said, oh, perhaps no one likes Orcs. Let's not bother with them
well,
for a
this is
long
it. You're
time.
damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know what I mean? they'll be looking at it going, the sales figures for orcs are terrible. Nobody collects orcs. Let's not bother with them. It's sort of a negative feed loop. Nobody collects orcs because the models are crap, and the models are crap. Therefore, nobody collects orcs. You get me?
Yeah, vicious cycle. I guess what's happened is the best thing really is that people did buy them in their droves, and GW probably did make a lot of money on them. But at the same time, they're getting the feedback and they're getting the people saying, criticizing them and reviewing them and talking about them in those ways, and upset about the loss of multi-part miniatures and stuff. And luckily,
Yeah.
we've seen on other factions still getting a lot of multi-part models and stuff. So it looks like the mono build isn't the pure way they're going and the future of the company. I think we'll probably see more mono build stuff, but I don't think we'll see the end of multi-part kits either, which thank God, because that was my biggest worry, that we would sort of GW would almost start phasing that out and going almost pure mono build, which would be an absolute tragedy for the hobby. It really would.
Well, I honestly think when they do redo the orcs, that they're not going to be as posable as what we have now. We'll probably have something like the Savage Orcs, where it's a case of, or even if you look at some of the Plague Marine stuff, you'll see on the miniature that one of the legs will be cast in and one of the arms or two of the arms will be cast, and you're literally putting half of a leg. You know what I mean? It's like it's not as multi-part and posable as what we have. You wouldn't have the freedom of creativity. I mean, like obviously,
Kirioff did a very good video talking about that recently, actually, talking about the sort of pros and cons of that, in that you lose the posability, but what you gain from that is more detail, because they can have sort of unbroken lines and things. It's not just clear where you see the line of that's where the arms are stuck on, that's where the head's stuck on. You can have robes that flow from the chest down through the legs, and so I do see that. I do see the benefit of that. For me personally, I would happily lose a little bit of that sort of fancy detail or dynamic stuff to have more ease of posability and customization. But each to their own, I guess. But I think it can work quite well in with things like characters and stuff that you want them to really stand out. If they're a bit more monopose, that can work. Although even then, your special characters, if you are into conversions and kit bashing and stuff, your special characters are probably the ones you're going to spend the most time on.
but it just
Kit bashing
depends.
and mixing.
You know what I mean? Because if we
converting.
look at the ones that they've done it with orcs, like the Painboy model, it can be converted. We're not saying that you can't convert these things, but
It's not easy though, is it?
it's not easy, man. It's really not easy. Even looking at the grot that's on his back, it's like that syringe is sculpted into him. His hand, the way his
Yeah, it's
neck
not a
is.
conversion. I
Yeah.
love converting in that, but it's not a conversion I'd like to tackle.
Now, it'd be a lot of resculpting on it. The weird angle of the neck and all this type of stuff, you know what I mean? A lot, you could do stuff with it, but there's an awful lot that would need to be done. Even just doing a head swap. If you're trying to do a head swap, like his head isn't compatible with anything else. It's very specifically just for this model.
I mean, if they did go with that, I think you'd have a lot of these sort of beginner players and new players that would have no issue with it, and be happy with these mono build kits and just build them as they are. Then you'd have the really, really skilled, talented guys that can convert and work wonders with green stuff that would make the stuff look like what they wanted. And then you'd have people like me, who are the less talented converters and kit bashers, who would be going, I don't know what.
I don't know what to be doing with it. Yeah, I get you. I think your internet has gone and shit itself again.
Yeah, it'll do that from time to time.
Give the router a good kick, but whatever. It just depends. Like, there's people like me as well who are. I like having one of everything sort of original. You know what I mean? So, like, I like having an original Painboy, but then I like having a converted one as well. That way I can turn around to people and be like, this is what the model was originally like, and
Yeah, yeah,
blah
I'm
blah
much the
blah.
same. My vehicles and things. I've got my first truck is standard. Then my second one, as soon as I wanted a second one, I was like, well, I'm not building it the same. I'm not having one that's the same. So I converted one from a Talrox. But
Rockets that you're not allowed to take anymore.
yeah, although in the tournament I was using some index stuff. Still using some index things because just some silly things in there that I just think is stupid, like the fact that a knob in a shooter boy mob in the codex can't take a shooter. He can take a slugger, he can take a combi shooter, he can't take a shooter or a custom shooter, which is just dumb as fuck. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit what the rulebook says. Give me my index. I'm taking a custom shooter because he's in a shooter boy mob. I don't want him to have a slugger. I don't want to pay the points for a combi shooter. I just want him to have a weapon like the rest of the boys.
But that annoys me though. It's like they'll come out with new products, and it's like so many oversights and little tiny mistakes. You know what I mean?
That's not even an oversight either, is it? It's just because they're fucking being anal about what's in the bloody box. That
What's in the
the
box?
knob
Yeah.
in the boys box doesn't come with the bloody thing. It's just
But then again, there's no orc knob biker kit. Like there's one from Forge World, but then what's it doing in the codex? Should it not be in
mm,
the Xenos Index for Forge World? Do you know what I mean? It's weird. So it's like they're not
well, we've
even
gone over this before, haven't we? How they're contradicting themselves and how they've got the what is it? And the Grey Knights have got the baby carrier thing or whatever that I don't know, some kind of model that there is not a kit for, but they have still got the rules for it. And so they've contradicted themselves like massively in that. And so in some cases, you will have rules for stuff that hasn't got a kit. Other cases, they say, oh no, we don't have the rules because it's not in the kit. And it's like, well, make your mind up, one or the other.
yeah.
Um,
Bit of consistency, please.
and just leave the bloody rule in there, even if it isn't in the kit. I mean, I see where they get some back. They're almost down if they're doing damage because I've bought kits before. Like, for example, the Killer Can kit, which is a kit I really like, but it does have its downsides in that I saw the rules for the Killer Cans and like, oh, cool, I'd like to have 3 with rockets. Get the kit, and there's only 1 rocket launcher in there. Like, oh, come on. And that's not a problem when you've built up a big bits box and you've got lots of spare bits knocking about and you think, oh, I can use the rockets from that and whatever. But
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I do see why, I do see what they're saying, the logic in it, but I don't think it's a huge issue.
Well, it's just scarcity that they make. They do it with a lot of their kits. It's inbuilt in scarcity. It's like if Space Marines want to have some of their specialist weapons and they only get one per
Hmm.
squad, or there's Chaos Space Marines. The new specialist weapon is
Yeah,
the must-have, but they'll only give you one of them. Or
the Havocs and the Devastators are a big one. You buy the set of Devastators or something, and traditionally they would generally have one of each weapon in there. No one wants to run the squad like that. They want to generally you say, well, I want 4 Devastators with las cannons or 4 Devastators with auto cannons. No one wants to have like, oh, I want one with a heavy bolter, one with a big heavy plasma gun, one with a las cannon, one with a missile. No one's running that squad. And if they are, what the hell are they playing at? Like, I know variety is the spice of life, but I
but
guess it's a bit
that's
different in
just
this
it,
day and
though.
age where you can split fire and stuff, because that wasn't really an option back in the day.
Ideally, Games Workshop wants you to buy multiples of box sets and stuff, but people don't do that. They're going to go to like third-party bit sellers, or they're going to go to eBay, or the way
I did
3D
used to
printing
do
is
that with
going.
GW back in the day when they used to have a bits service. I remember buying back in the day on GW Online. I bought the Chaos Havoc set, and then I bought 3 of the autocannon because I wanted 4 Havocs with autocannons, and so I bought the 3 metal autocannon parts from the GW site. Ended up costing me so much more than it would have, and
Oh, Jesus, going. But that was back when they used to do a lot of metal, though. when a lot of the
Yeah,
parts were
you'd get like the plastic Space Marines, but then the weapons would be like
specialist
metal
weapons
parts.
used to
You
be
know.
metal. It used to be the same for orcs. You
Yeah,
used to buy orcs in like boxes of 16, and then
yeah.
your specialist
Shooter boys and
weapons.
rocket boys,
Yeah, yeah, you'd have big shooters. You'd buy two in a blister pack. You'd buy two big shooters or
tank
two
busters.
two tank busted guys, or the Born boys when you could have Bornas in a boy squad. That was their whole shtick back then. Was you'd buy your basic troops in plastic and your specialist stuff was metal blister packs. Jesus, that wasn't. Yeah, well, I don't know. How long ago was that? Two thousands,
We're going back to yeah, very early 2000s, late 90s.
sort of. It's sort of yeah. That was your build process and your purchases to go with it.
I remember when the killer cans came in a blister pack.
Yeah, man. You used to get one pair
They
blister
weren't
pack.
cheap.
Now they weren't. They're about 10 quid a pop or more.
Yeah.
It's the same with Mega Knobs.
You mad? It's cool. In 2019, it's probably cheaper to get. Like killer cans are probably still cheaper now than they were back then.
But I think Mega Knobs are more expensive now. Because I remember buying, would it be in 2009? I think it was buying me Mega Knobs for €10.50 a blister.
Yep.
And so what, you'd need 3 of them, so that worked out at about 32 euros. Whereas now, if you're buying the box set of Mega Knobs, it's like nearly 50 quid or something. It's crazy money.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy money.
I got mixed feelings on that kit though, because I've got several of that kit now, and I bought them from, discount retailers, so I got them a bit cheaper than GW sells them for, because it's the only way you can buy them. You do not pay GW prices for them.
Jesus, no.
But
with no kidneys at all.
do you know what? As expensive as it is, and it is too expensive, it is, but I would still, as a kit, as an Orc player, to another Orc player, I'd still highly recommend the kit, because my God, you can make that value stretch, because in that kit, you do get every weapon
everything,
option.
yeah.
You can have all
kit.
3 of them with combi rockets, all 3 of them with combi scorchers, all 3 of them with custom shooters. You can have all 3 of them with kill saws. You've got the big mech options in there, in which you can have the teleporter, the custom force field, the custom mega blaster. You've got the little grot oiler dude in there as a little bonus, which is a cool little miniature. And you get left with so many boss poles and armor plates and spare bits and trophies, and so it really is. Although you are only getting 3 miniatures in there plus the little grot oiler, you're getting a fuckload of spares. And when you're making things like tank busters or other bits, you can mix bits in with it, and it's fully compatible with the other knob sets. You can do head swaps from the normal knobs with the mega knobs, and put mega knob heads on normal knobs to add more variety in. So although it's ludicrously expensive, I would still recommend it as a must buy for the Orc Army, actually, because it really is a great kit. Definitely one of my favourites.
It's a good solid kit. I like it. I just don't like the price of it. I think it's too steep for what it is. But it is a good set.
Now, if it had really 5 mega knobs in there, oh my God, then I would say, you know what, it's pricey, but it's worth it. But because it's only got 3, that's a bit tight.
It's a bit of a squeeze.
But I guess it's the fact that you are getting the parts to make custom, to make big mechs in mega armor in it, it does give you a lot of variety and stuff. But yeah, I need to get one more set of that, because I've got what have I got? I've got a squad now and 2 big mechs in mega armor. I need one more set so I can have a full squad of 10 mega knobs.
I suppose, yeah. So you'd need 4 box sets if you're going to do a
full squad of 10 and 2
characters.
Which, does end up being very expensive.
Yeah, even off of third-party retailers, even if you're getting them at, 20%, 30% discount if you're really lucky. Still going to
I'll tell you what, mate, like I say, not only did I get Mega Knobs and Big Mix out of it though, but that set was very responsible for getting a lot of my tank busters done, because those combi rocket options in there are amazing for making tank busters with.
But that ties in with the versatility of the Orc Boy kit, like we were talking. You know what I mean? You can do so
Yes.
much with the Orc Boy kit. You can make anything. You just have to have the bits. You want to make Stone Boys, just get like rockets or backpacks. You want to make tank busters, just standard rockets. You know.
Yeah, what was it? The looter kit. You can't decide whether to make looters or burners. Have a set of boys nearby. Make both.
Make both. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Make both.
And it's
Can't go wrong.
then you get double the value out of the set.
Exactly. That's it.
My first grot has got his base coat on. Bring him off my camera. I'm knocking everything over here. Probably isn't sharp too well.
We can see that he's green.
He's got his skin. There you go. You can see that he's green. You will see these on my channel in the future, but seeing how long it took me just to get that green base coat on, these are going to take me a while. Got my mech guns fully finished, but it's going to take a while to get the crew done.
Yeah, but that's the important thing. Like you were saying, you put the mech guns on the field anyway.
Yeah,
So,
true. I can still use them until these are done.
Yeah, you can add them in afterwards.
I need to kind of get out of that way of thinking almost. I need to go, keep just focused now. I'm too scared to stop now, because I know if I stop, it's like when you come home from work. You come home from work, you walk through the door, and you see you've got a load of washing up on the side, clothes need washing, the dinner needs cooking, lots of stuff needs doing, and you think you got that choice. You can either stop, sit down, and chill out, but then you're not getting back up again. So it's a case of just walking the door, get the shit done quickly. And that's where I'm at with this painting now. I'm on a roll now. I'm actually making some progress. I'm actually getting some stuff done for once in my bloody life. And I need to now maintain this. So I'm kind of like coming home from work, getting the kids to bed, and right, get the paints out, get painting again. Let's crack on. Let's see this through to the end, which is good. This is a good thing for me.
Well, that's it. Well, the ball is rolling. Get it done, man. Definitely get it done. Stay on top of it.
Oh, these grots wear too many clothes.
Yeah, I think
more
that's...
naked grots. Naked grots are easier to paint.
Just go for the green. You don't realise, I think, especially with orcs, just how much detail is on the bastards until you start putting paint on them, and you're like, how many pouches and necklaces and pistols and buckles and Jesus. It's good though. It is. It's good in that there's a lot of detail on them. But I think you don't really
pain in the
realise.
arse to do, but it is worth it.
It looks nice when it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. Those details are what make the miniatures pop, and
they do look decent. But I haven't tried. Have you tried out the contrast paints? I know. I was probably looking at these needs. They probably would have been ideal candidates for trying out contrast paints. But I'm just painting with whatever I have handy.
Yeah, I think contrast paints would work well on NIDS, but I find NIDS very easy to paint anyway. But I see when I was at the tournament, Capitan Morgan, who some of you may know, who's got a channel of his own, a good friend of Idix, he had an orc army there. He's only started orcs very recently, and he's put me to shame by just getting a very large force painted up in record time,
yeah, man.
using the contrast paints. Now, I mean, he'll say to you himself that they don't look great, and I don't think the way he's painted them is the best you can get out of contrast paints. Far from it. But he has demonstrated that if you just want to get the stuff done tabletop standard as quickly as possible, get it on the table, wow, it looks more effective than just doing base colors. Say like people just throw on some base colors and get it on the table. It's serviceable, it does the job, but with these contrast paints, it does. You can see the shading and the highlighting that it does do, and it just does it all for you. And that is, it's quite impressive actually. And then I've seen other people what they can do when they really use the paints to a sort of a high quality finish and stuff, and you can get some incredibly impressive results from them. I remember seeing Dreadwar's video on them though, and he made some very good points in his sort of fairly critical review of it. In that, although yes, it does do the highlighting and shading and stuff for you, what it doesn't mirror is the sort of source of natural light, because it does it all over the model. Whereas if you're doing it by hand, you're naturally highlighting the raised areas, the high areas and stuff. So it's kind of throwing highlights on where perhaps there wouldn't be any because of shadows and the stuff. But then you're really starting to go into sort of high-end painting and stuff, and how far do you really want to take it? And I don't think they're ever designed for, you know, golden demon entrance. They're designed for people that want to get a good, effective sort of result quickly. And for that, from what I've seen of them, they do that and then some. I would have loved those paints when I was younger, certainly.
Would have come in handy, but I suppose it just
I
depends.
don't think I ever would have bothered learning how to do shading and highlighting and stuff. But it's, but I kind of that's part of it is probably one of my favourite parts of painting though. It's getting the base colours on for me that's kind of the most boring part. Once I've got the base on and I've done that ink wash, and then I'm going in doing like the edge highlighting and dry brushing and, you know, those picking out the details stuff. That's the bit of the painting that I probably enjoy the most, because that's the bit where it really starts to pop and come alive, and you can see that your techniques and stuff that you've used has done that, and that's the satisfying part for me. So in a way, using contrast paints would kind of kill one of the most fun parts of painting for me.
They look interesting, I'll say that much. I haven't tried them yet, but I really wanted to try them out for painting orcs and orc skin just to see what they're like, but they're like £6 something a pop me. You know what I mean? They're not.
Yeah.
They're not cheap, and
yeah, they're not cheap.
I can't really
but they're
justify.
GW standard paints.
Yeah, man. It's like I want to try some of them out, but then if I'm not going to use them to actually sit down and paint a large quantity of miniatures, I can't really justify the cost to myself, because I've already figured what way I want to do my orc skin. I've hashed it out. I'm happy enough. And I've started on the army with it, but
same. I think I may have considered, if I was starting an army,
yeah,
I think that's where you consider them, because if you're already halfway through an army and you've got it, you're not going to switch brands. You're not going to switch to a new formula or a new type paint, and that's why I'm always uncomfortable when GW mucks about with their range and stuff. I know you've always got to move forward and improve things and stuff, and you don't want to stay static, and still, if you can improve the formula and, you know, get a better results and things and make a better product, then you're going to do it. But I say if you're halfway through an army and they change the paint, even if it's a better paint, if it's different, you don't want it. You want, because you've got you want the army to look consistent. So
well,
that's why I was very much put off when I came back into the hobby and realised that GW had changed all their paints, all the names of the paints, everything, and I was just lost. I was like, I don't know where to begin. Where's my Dark Angels green? Where's my Scorpion green? Where's my
Snakebite leather and
Space
Wolves grey? Yeah, I remember.
Sunburst yellow and Dwarven bronze and dwarf flesh and elf flesh, and where's all that stuff? Because that's what I knew. And so when I came back and I saw these new ones, I was like, I don't know where to begin. I don't understand it. And I didn't want to learn it. I didn't want to understand that there was the layer paints and things. I was like, what are you talking about? When I played it before, you had paints and you had washes, and that was it. They had foundation paints, which were great, but that was it. And so yeah, that's why I kind of switched to Army Painter, because I kind of looked at them and I was like, oh, they're basically doing what GW used to do. They've just got a basic range of paints, and they come in dropper bottles, because I remember how my GW paints used to dry out.
Bastards. I found a red one there. I fucked it in the bin. I think it was like a Mephiston red or something like that died on me. It's like I didn't even really on the bleeding thing.
Mephiston. I don't know why it always makes me giggle.
Juvenile.
I'm gonna get my fist on. Sorry guys, I am fully in juvenile Beavis and Butthead style humour right now.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm not happy with the pots. I haven't been for a long time. They just dry out, man. No matter what you try and do, try and keep the paint off the lip. They'll just, even ones I've never cracked open, and they'll just die.
Yeah. GW White.
Ceramite white.
GW White.
Jesus.
That is the worst. Like, I swear to God that it doesn't actually exist. I swear to God, all they do in the GW fucking bottling plant where they put in the paints, they're just cracking open these pots labelled white and just filling them with chalk and sending them out. They just crunch up a load of fucking geography teachers' chalk sticks, smash them up, and fill them in the pot, and right, yeah, it's good, send them out.
That'll do. There's the next shipment. Out they go. Yeah, that's the worst one I ever saw.
Just add a smidgen of water in there. It looks like paint while it's in the shop. By the time you walked home with it, it's already dried out. I tell you what, though, this weather, man, this has been dry. Even my army painter ones, some of them, I've been mixing the bastards, like, and they're notoriously hard to mix. But I've got the mixing balls in there, which helps out massively. But a couple of the colours, I've squirted them out, and they've come out almost like toothpaste. And once I add a little bit of water from the brush and like mix it in, it breaks down into the paint fine. But I swear they've never been like that before, and I think it's just recently this intense heat has been really thickening them up a bit. And
it's almost like you'd want to be keeping them in the fridge or a mini fridge for them, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine the missus cracking open the door going, what the... What's this?
Oh yeah, I can imagine me on my next bloody work conference when I'm in the hotel room painting that and forget it, and I'm like, shit, I've left all my paints in the minibar. The next punter looking for his little miniature bottle of Malibu finds a bloody little bottle of what, Void Shield Blue instead, you know.
Bottle of army painter. He's like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll give that a swig.
Yeah, army painter. Cool. This must be some pretty hardcore shit. Oh, what's the percentage is that? Those army lads, they'll drink anything, won't they?
True, man. True. Yeah. It's all non-toxic anyway. It'd be grand.
Yeah. Well, Dreadwire can attest to that, can't he? Crazy
That's true.
bastard.
Yeah. My God.
Crazy feral bastard.
He's a brave man. Speaking contrast. But that was another meme I laughed my ass off at. It's like
it's brilliant.
Someone made one where it's like you with a can of Pepsi, me with a cup of tea, and Dread with a bottle of contrast. It's like, yep.
It's the facial expression.
Yeah, his face as well.
Just literally like, yeah. He just looks like he's been to too many festivals.
He's lived life. He's lived life.
He really has. He really has. He's a very cool guy. He cracks me up. Guy cracks me up. Yeah, such a personality.
Always a bit of banter with him. He's going hard at the Gaslands as well. Fair play to him.
Yeah, that boy goes hard on everything, man. His channel is we've basically turned this into a plug Dreadwire's channel now.
Yeah.
But his channel is just doing incredible stuff on there. He's huge success and well deserved, man. He knows what he wants. He's got a vision and he's very creative with his style of videos and stuff. It's brilliant. He's really doing something different and standing out from the crowd. And he certainly entertains me all the time, that's for sure.
Oh, true, yeah. And he's good crack as well.
Every video of his I watch, every single time, without fail, at some point during the video, I will chuckle out loud to myself. You know, there'll be something he says, or something he does, or some way he looks into the camera, and I'll just see, you fucking crazy bastard.
Yeah,
crazy hippie bastard.
And the fact we always torment each other always helps, I think.
Yeah, there is much banter. Always a good thing.
So there's a new Gaslands rulebook coming out in September. I'm thinking about getting it myself. Well, what about... Have you looked at Gaslands at all?
I have. It's been on my radar for a long time, and long before Dreadwire started covering it, actually.
Yeah. I'd heard about it, all right.
Yeah, he brought it back onto my radar, because I remember the first time I saw about it was when the Beasts of War boys were talking about it years ago. And I remember talking about the concept of it and that, and I just thought, what a cool idea. That is genius. loads of people have got toy cars, Matchbox Hot Wheels cars knocking about, whether from old sets from when they were kids or if you've got kids, you still got them. They're dirt cheap to come by. They're common as muck. You find them at any car boot sale. I just thought, what an absolutely genius concept.
Or maybe we should clear it up for people just in case there are some subscribers who don't know what
Go on,
Gaslands is.
take it away. Give them a crash course. No pun intended.
So it's a post-apocalyptic tabletop game, and it doesn't have a scale, but its base templates that are in the game are made to be used with pretty much Hot Wheels or Matchbox size cars, and that's pretty much all you need is like a few Matchbox or Hot Wheels cars and a table, and away you go. And it's just racing, carnage. Think of Mad Max and Death Race. Yeah, it's pretty much. It's all that madness mixed together, customizations and all those shenanigans, and that seems to be Gaslands from what I gather. Do you think my description has hit the nail on the head?
I think you've hit it bang on there, mate. It is basically a Mad Max inspired driving war / racing game using Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars, and it's genius concept, absolutely genius. And then you can I know you can use the Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars just as they are. You can pick up any old cars and just play it. But the real fun from it comes from taking these cars, respraying them black, and putting your own paint jobs on them and sticking your own little guns to them and scythed wheels and rams and spikes and all kinds of things like that. Yeah, and really just getting creative with it, but for incredibly small cost and outlay.
Oh yeah, what's the book? I don't know how much the new book is, but even if it's like 20-25 quid, and then it's whatever the cost of Hot Wheels cars are, and you can get them in packs of 5 for feck all, like.
Oh yeah, and like I say, we've got a load knocking about already. And to be honest, that if you find any old beaten up one day, I mean, go out into the back garden, look in the kids' sandpit, you'll find about 7 of them in there.
Yeah.
The more battered up they are, the better.
Yeah.
You're only going to batter them up anyway. These are post-apocalyptic, vehicles, so they don't need to look pretty and good. You need to just basically, and with some very simple paintwork and stuff, you can get these things looking good. Give them a good dry brush of metal, get some rust effects on there, get some bullet damage and stuff on there, exhaust, effects and stuff, and you're away to go. And there's all sorts of cool cars out there that are just ripe for it. Pickup trucks, Mustangs, muscle cars, hot rods, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, anything. You could get really creative. You can have like your, I don't know, get your Fiat 500s on there, fucking, Mad Max up one of them, or an old VW Beetle, or
a lot
whatever.
of old Mini Coopers do like the Italian job. That would be cool. That'd be a great team.
That would be cool. Very cool.
And I don't mean the remake. I mean the original film, the old school one.
Oh yeah, bloody hell.
Proper one. An old Italian job.
It was only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
That's a great film, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's it's a cool game. I think it's although Dreadwire's channel is primarily Orc focused, he's obviously branched out into covering some Gasland stuff. But I think it's a game that appeals to Orc players a lot, because a lot of Orc players are already taking heavy inspiration from things like Mad Max and stuff. A lot of our vehicles are obviously have this similar aesthetic in mind of the stuff's cobbled together out of scrap and looted and stuff. So it already sings to us in our mentality and our creativity. So it's definitely a game that is easily marketed at people that are into orcs. Also, I want to get the boy into it. He's young. He's interested in what I'm doing in 40k and stuff. He's shown an interest in the stuff, in the game, in the miniatures, and but he's too young to be taught it and play it yet. But I think something like Gaslands would be a great gateway game for him, to have a dig through his cars and be able to kit bash and convert them and do things with them and play a game with them and learn wargaming through that for a very cheap cost and for something that he's already got a lot of. And straight away he doesn't have to learn the game and then have to wait till he can afford through his pocket money or to be bought something. He's already got a big box of cars up in his room. He can just go and dig through and go, yeah, I'll make this one into that. And so I think I look forward to getting the book in the future when they do the updated one. I might as well jump on then and sort of discover it with him and try and get it as something for us to sort of bond with and do together.
It sounds like a solid plan. Like I've not played the game myself. Had a look at the rules. I don't have a rule book of my own yet, but it looks like something interesting. And worst case scenario, like you're talking about playing the game with the lad, it'd be different if he got into 40k for 4 months and then decided he didn't like it, and then you have so many miniatures or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, what am I gonna deal with this? But if you're getting into Gaslands and he decides not to stick with it, well, it's only a few cars that are,
Yeah, and he had the cars anyway, so
yeah, exactly.
And if he does get into it in a big way and he wants more stuff and that, then hey, a little trip down to Sainsbury's or whatever and buying a pack of Hot Wheels isn't going to cost
you can buy them anywhere, man. As the Tesco's, Sainsbury's, wherever, they're all over the place. It's not like they're hard to come by. Car boot sales, anywhere. I'm sure there's like Hot Wheels and Matchbox collectors lamenting when old cars are being chopped up and turned into hot rods. Like, oh my god, that was super rare. It's like, it's my doofwagon now, bud. Oh, cracking. I love when I see stuff like that for 40k when someone gets like an old Land Raider and they'll convert it up into a new battle wagon or something like that. It's always interesting.
Yeah, there's some sort of sick enjoyment from that in there, certainly. It's like I always quite like the idea of if I won the lottery and I had loads of money to buy myself like a Rolls Royce Phantom or something and just bling and boy racer the living fuck out of it just to fuck with people.
Just to annoy people.
Just to fuck with people. Put a big fuck off stupid spoiler on the back, neon lights under it and shit, nitrous boosters. What have you done to that beautiful car?
Give it the LEG treatment.
Yeah. Right, I think I've earned myself a fag break there. I've got 2 grots skin done.
He's painted 2 grots and he gets a fuck. Your lungs won't last your army, mate.
That's it. You're probably very close to the truth there. But yeah. Well, to be fair, I did. How many have I got here? I've got 5. So there's 14 grot crew to divide between 4 met guns. And before anyone gets in the comment section going, you get to have 5 per gun. No, you don't. You don't at all. It's just they're there for the look. As long as there's a gun crawling with grots, it's fine. They can have 3, 2, 5, 7. Doesn't really matter. But I'm sure there'll be someone commenting. They've got to have 5.
But there will be now. just to fucking wind you up.
Just to fuck with me.
Triggered too easily. Hashtag triggered, Steve-O. It's just interesting, though. You know what I mean? It's the way it can be. People can get really annoyed about the most, tiny of things. Oh well, technically, you don't have this exact form of this weapon. It's like, as long as you know what it is and I know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knock yourself out. I'm in a Gaslands group and it's always pretty funny when you can tell people have previously come from 40k because 40k has a very sort of unique mentality that's bred into the players from Games Workshop, where everything has to be WYSIWYG and all this type of stuff, which is pretty much like what you see is what you get. No proxies, all this type of stuff. Everything has to be very literal. And it's not like that at all with the Gaslands community that's out there. It's very sort of Reminds me of the old school orc players back in the day, where it's all the rule of cool. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like if you're only allowed two weapons on a vehicle, and then someone's calling you out and they're going, "Oh, well, technically you can't have that many weapons on a vehicle." The amount of people who are like, "Well, just pay for it and it looks cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that mentality. So there is sort of a
It's a difficult line to draw as well because everyone draws it a different way, don't they? It's WYSIWYG can mean different things for different people. It's sort of like you can have WYSIWYG, but then you can also have counts as. But the counts as has got to sort of makes. I'm kind of in the middle bit area. I do like the WYSIWYG, and I like to have my stuff WYSIWYG. But when you're doing conversions and things and counts as long as it makes sense. So, for example, say someone's doing a feral orc army or a snakebite orc army, and their orc bikers are represented by having the orcs riding boars. So they're representing boar boys, or whatever, but they're going to use the biker rules. That sort of thing, I like that. I can take that. But when people do something like, I don't know, they use miniatures from a different universe or something and try and use the right. There's things like that, or they go against the law of the game. Yeah, I think that's where I'm getting at. If they go against the law of the existing law and they take it too far to the point where it's breaking the law, I don't like that.
I don't mind as long as people don't take the piss. I once had a mate try use a fucking parcel box to proxy a Valkyrie, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" I was like, "You're
I
taking the
have,
piss, mate."
I have, I have played a game before in which half of a squad was just empty bases. Because I had like, right, I've got a squad of 15 Necron warriors here, but only 10 of them are built. The other 4 are still in sub assemblies, So these 5 bases at the back are Necron warriors, but they're just, I don't have them built yet, so they're still in parts on the sprue. But I need to make the points up. So I've done little things like that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like it when people, some people who are the creatives. Sometimes the creative people that will later on, as they get into the hobby, become really good with doing something really personalized and really special. But I find some people, before they've fully explored the lore and really understand what the 40k universe is all about, they start converting in things almost too early, and they're done something. You look at you like, yeah, that looks cool, but it doesn't make any sense. Like they would never do that. I think you've got to have that. Creativity works best when it is working within the restrictions and the confines of the law.
See, I wouldn't agree with that though. I don't give a rat's about the lore because I think it's rubbish. I think the current lore that they come out with is just garbage. So I'm like, do what you want.
But the lore as a whole, I mean, you must have a love for the lore as a whole. I know I think in what you're saying is the lore is rubbish. I think what you're getting at there is the 8th edition lore, the advancement in the storyline with the Primaris and Belisarius and all the various things that have gone on, and not 40k lore as a whole, surely.
No, 40k as a whole was good, but the problem is all this new lore retcons the old stuff, so the stuff that you liked originally is slowly just getting tainted anyway. That's the problem I'm having. I'm like, you what?
Yeah, I don't think they've retconned too much in recent years, have they? They've just added a lot of shit stuff. Because the story's obviously moved forward, so like a lot of the stuff that happened before has still happened, and it's still there, it existed, but now we've moved on like 100 years or 1,000 years or whatever, and stuff's now going on. And I agree with you. A lot of the stuff they've done recently and stuff, I'm a bit like, I don't know about that. I don't like that. And there is various things that I haven't liked. Combining the Dark Elder and the Eldar doesn't sit right with me.
No, yeah,
The
they
lore
always
I was
hated each
used
other, man.
to, yeah, and that was like pure fucking hate, And I know you can explain away anything with lore and stuff, but yeah, but
Being
I
arch
don't know.
nemesis one
I
edition
remember.
and
I
mates the
remember. I
next.
remember. I remember a friend of mine who was he was very keen to join the army, and he later did. He later did in later life. But as teenagers, I remember trying to get him into the hobby, and he did get into the hobby for a while. And he was looking at the Space Marines and stuff, and he was talking about having his chapter or like the SAS chapter or something because he had a love for real life military and stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's just shit. That's not no. That's not. That wouldn't be no. That's you're applying modern day law, like real life law to. No, you can't do that. You can. You can do whatever you want, but it just doesn't sit right with me. It'd be shit. And then people that take the comedy route. I remember someone as well at the gaming club wanted to have a Space Marine army called the Fluffy Bunnies and paint them all pink and have shit. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why you'd want to do that.
Sort of a
But everyone,
protest.
I guess, I think, yeah, he just thought it was hilarious. I didn't see the funny side myself. You know? Maybe I'll take it too serious.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think you've got to kind of, when you're converting something and stuff and making something, painting something, I like it to make sense, to fit. And if I am converting something from something else, I still want it to accurately represent what the rules suggest, what the law suggests. So I still want it
I see.
to
So the
make
rules
sense.
sort of, you like converting, but in the confines of what the rules will allow you
as
to
well.
have.
Definitely a little bit, yeah. And if I'm quite happy to use something completely separate. Like if I was to take a Carnifex and stick a load of wires out of its head and have an orc riding it, as I've seen if someone do a conversion do and say, right, this is my Death Dread and he counts as a Death Dread with four Dread Saws or whatever. That makes perfect sense. You can see it like, yeah, okay, it's a looted Carnifex. He's using the rules for a Death Dread. That's a really mad, crazy conversion, but it fits within the rules and the law. And I think that's where true, really good creativity comes from. When you have the restrictions that you've got, can almost push you towards some really creative ideas. It's like when they make movies and stuff, some of the best ideas sometimes come from the restrictions of budget or the effects available at the time, and they have to come up with really clever ideas and how they're going to do something. And sometimes those restrictions bring out amazing creativity. And yeah, so that's kind of my stance on it anyway. But we're all different, aren't we? All of us, and I think that's it's what divides us sometimes, but it's what makes the hobby great is that everyone can come at it from their own angle and get what they want out of it. And if you want to, convert a My Little Pony into a bloody Death Dread or something that rocks your boat, yeah, then fucking go for it, yeah. Yes, someone did that in your competition, didn't they?
Yeah, and they won a prize for it as well. Yeah, very creative. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think See, the problem I have with being restricted with rules is, like, say with the likes of looted wagons and stuff like that, it's you'll convert your vehicle this edition to have like 4 turrets and a main turret, alright? And then next edition, they'll change the rules and you're only allowed to have the main turret gun and 2 turrets. So then you have this really cool miniature you've converted and they've changed the rules in it. So what you want them, what are people to do then? Then to rip bits of their model off? So I don't like the restrictions as such. Within reason, obviously, you need to have restrictions and rules to play a game, but I'd be more into if one of your mates built something really fucking cool and kick-ass and you're like, that is shit hot, we should make some rules for that. And then sit down and hash it out. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be allowed to play in your local GW store without people agreeing with you. You're not going to be able to just rock up to a tournament, but between you and your mates, if you're happy with it, like I'd do that. If somebody did a really cool conversion, I'd be all into making rules for it. You know what I mean? Reasonable rules where the two of you'd sit down and agree and go, yeah, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally see what you're saying there.
It's a bit like that for Apocalypse game that we play some of the other lads with Orc armies, because there's no rules for Gargants. And there's no rules for some of the specialist vehicles that they have, so we literally make up the rules, and then we all agree, and it's all like, yeah, those rules are cool. It's like, well, if I have rules for a Gargant and I've built one, there's nothing stopping you from making a Gargant and using the same rules. You know what I mean? Because everyone has
And I
access to the
think,
same stuff.
and I think that's where a lot of the love for narrative and open play and apocalypse comes in, isn't it? Because you can do that sort of stuff. And obviously 40k match play is obviously these days more seen as like tournament play and stuff, and so I guess it is far more restrictive in that, and we do lament the loss of our looted wagons and stuff from it.
Mega Armored
But I
Warboss is
guess
what I'm still sore about. It's like, where's me Mega
ah,
Warboss?
yeah, too bloody right.
I don't know. I don't know. As this edition goes
Luckily,
on, I'm like, is this the worst codex we've ever had? And I'm starting to think it is in some regards.
oh hell no.
Well, I don't know, man. I
I
do.
mean, I guess we've said before, both of us have said on the channel that all the indexes are going to go soon. They won't be around. But you know what? As time goes on, although it has been, disallowed in a lot of tournaments and things, they're still going strong because the rules are still there, and they still say the rules are there.
It
If
all
you've got
depends, though. Like, if your local Games Workshop is letting you use them, that's cool. But I already have guys who are subscribed to me who are saying, yep, my local Games Workshop won't let us use any of the index stuff because none of the new players can buy the index anymore. So, therefore, all index stuff is out. So it just depends on your local area, I think. Some tournaments probably will let you play them, some tournaments probably won't. But over time, they will go.
I mean, for me, the apocalypse is great because I know now that if I do make a looted wagon, hell, I might not be able to use it in match play and stuff, but at least I know I'll be able to use it in apocalypse games and things. So I think apocalypse is going to do a lot of wonders for allowing a lot of this stuff back in and being able to, do custom rules for things like that. Because generally, apocalypse games are more just for the sheer fun of it.
Yeah, they're always a good laugh. Mind you, the ones I play are orcs against orcs, so that might be different if you're playing against Imperials. Or another faction. The only time you're going to have a balanced game is when you're having the same faction against the same faction. Which is why I find tournament play hilarious. It's like, game is not balanced at all. That's my opinion. Maybe I've been in the salt mine for too long, huh?
Well, it's not chess, is it? It's not. If everything was similar and balanced to that degree, then that's what we'd effectively be playing. We'd be playing chess, and it would lose all the fun.
Oh, but then people would argue that
stuff.
chess isn't balanced because someone has to go first. I think I've literally seen that in the comment section somewhere. It's like, yeah, but the degrees of imbalance between someone going first and having the same moves, and the degree of imbalance between 40k codexes is like a drop in the ocean compared to like a tsunami. It's just, we're talking about two different planets, let alone kettles of fish.
If there's someone out there complaining about the unfair advantages and the lack of balance in the game of chess, then that person will die miserable and never happy because they're never going to get anything that's going to please them.
Yeah. No game's perfect, that much is true. But yeah, they're damn sight closer. Some games that we play. I don't know. I'm just in one of those moods with 40k where I'm like, flamethrowers that can shoot aircraft. I don't have a template. What do you mean I can't use me Overwatch because you charged me on 10 inches? It's like, you know what I mean? There's little things that are like, ugh. I want
I get you.
I want them back. I missed them. They helped forge the narrative. There you go, Games Workshop.
I, on the other hand, don't miss them. I really don't. I mean,
breaking me heart here, bud.
Yeah, I didn't hate them. I don't. I know. I thought they definitely had the rule of cool, and it was a cool feeling laying a template and everything. But it has had the desired effect. It has speeded up the game, and I was in several games where people were taking so long because they're painstakingly making sure that every squad member is exactly 2 inches apart because they're minimizing the damage of incoming templates. And they talked about the arguing and bickering over, oh, that person's covered or he's not covered, he's not fully under it, or
Yeah, but you'll always have
just,
arguing no matter what aspect with a war
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. But I do think it has just simplified and simplified's the wrong word. It streamlined the game and sped it up and sort of just taken a little one of them hurdles out of the game that sort of could at times slow the game down. But rule of cool wise, fluff wise and that, templates were cool.
I think templates were unnecessarily taken out of the game. But I think it's just going to have to be one of those things we'll have to disagree or agree to disagree.
Yeah, definitely. We can, unlike most people on the internet, we can do that without tearing lumps off each other.
Well, it's not like we're going to be tearing lumps of hair out of each other anytime soon either,
Well, no.
There's not much of it left.
No.
Oh,
well, unless you were just yanking at armpit hair or,
or the beard growing back. You're going to have to grow a longer goatee there, bud. Something for me to grasp.
Just ripping out a big clump of pubic hair or something.
Oh, Jesus. That's a visual I did not need, but thanks for sharing.
Oh, the comment section is going to be amazing on this one. This one's going on your channel as well.
Yeah,
bud,
it is. I was like, this bastard knows it's going on mine. That's why he doesn't care. I'm being set up.
Well, speaking of which, I think we're probably, I don't know how long we've gone, so it must have gone over an hour, I imagine.
Yeah, we're well over an hour at this stage. We're well over an hour and a half, I think.
Probably bring it to a close. I've already cooked one phone in doing this episode, so.
I don't want to be cooking any more silicon tonight now.
Yeah, I haven't got an endless supply of phones to switch to when one overheats.
Well, I'm doing all right. I've got a few base coats done on this Tyrannid kill team, so.
Yeah, and I've just made a start on these grots now, and I've got all base coated, and the green skin's going on, so they're getting there. Progress is being made. It's slow, but it's progress nonetheless.
But that's the thing,
a little while ago,
when you can see progress, it really helps.
And what's really helped me along is looking at these mech guns completely going, yes, they look good. I'm happy with them. Because I was at a stage partway through them, I'm like, oh, they're not looking good, and it doesn't really all come together until the end when you're popping those highlights on and you're applying the weathering and putting those finishing touches, and suddenly the miniature pops and you can see what you were working towards all along.
It's like, I think you're right. There's like a point in the painting where you like sort of turn a corner in the progress with it, and you're like, yeah, you can finally sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, yeah, it's starting to come together. I find that happens with painting. You'll get to a stage in the paint job where you're slogging away, and then you get to a certain point and it's like, oh yeah, I can see the end product coming into sight.
It's been a long time since I've done it as well, so I'm just pleased to see that, I've still got it. I haven't lost the touch. I can still paint a serviceable miniature with a decent paint job. And that's pleased me greatly, because I kind of thought I'd lost my touch there for a while.
Yeah, I know that. If you haven't painted anything in a long time, you nearly have to knock the rust off of the old cogs to try and get the paint going again. But it does come back to the hand-eye coordination. It's like riding a bike. Once you've been there, you're not gonna forget.
Oh yes.
But definitely, I think we'll wrap this one up. So we've managed to get some nids done. hopefully you guys out there listening got some progress done on your painting. And show in the comment section, what do you guys think of our little paint-alongs? Do you like this format now that there's no more crutch cam?
Shit. I'm never gonna fucking forget
I'm
that
never
one,
gonna
mate.
let that one down.
Never gonna be able to live that one down. Shit me. Crotch cam.
And tell us what you think, and share your images on the Discord as well.
Sake, man. Right, yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, so yeah, what he said basically. This is 6 Plus Stevo signing out.
Take it easy.